Hello, everyone. Welcome to Non-Fungible Thursdays. It's been a while. We took a little breather as your daytime fireworks wound down last week, so it's great to be back. And as we've had in the past couple weeks, I'm really happy to have Decryptolorian back for a very special talk on wallet security. We titled this episode "Never Gonna Let You Go," because we spend a lot of time and maybe more importantly, a lot of money collecting our art. A lot of us are also involved in cryptocurrency, whether we're trading or just buying because we really want to support that technology or that project. And these things are really important to us. So, Decryptolorian is really a fantastic resource in this regard. He's a veteran. Some people think I'm a veteran for being in the space since 2017, but Decryptolorian really predates that and has just a lot of other great knowledge to contribute here. So, welcome, DC. How are you?
Oh, thank you. And you are a veteran. You've survived this long, and being here for that amount of time, definitely a veteran. And I'm doing great. Just came off of a run of security chats, so this is perfect timing.
Oh, perfect.
And I'd love to discuss the topic. It is something near and dear to my heart. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So maybe the first question I'm curious: do you use hot wallets? Do you use cold wallets?
I use both, and that's and that's a great question. So, when we think of hot wallet, we think of something like MetaMask, right? And
Mhm.
so, when you're using MetaMask, if your computer's connected to the internet all the time, we call it a hot wallet because it's connected. And sometimes, you may just put in your password, leave MetaMask running for days, and it's hot, right?
Yeah.
And your computer's online, and so we call that hot. And I do use that, and we talked about that a lot this morning. Is when to use it and when not to use it. And honestly, if you're doing something like playing games, right, or doing a lot of wallet interactions, a hot wallet is really convenient, and that really is the key word. Is there's a lot of convenience there, because when we get into the cold wallet chat or the cold storage, if you will,
Sure.
hardware wallets. The convenient factor really disappears, and when you're trying to feed a virtual fish or like a Avagochi or something, it gets like a real pain in the butt to get on your hardware wallet, put in your password, go through a bunch of buttons, accept a thing just to feed something. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. So that's where hot wallets are really the convenient factors there. So I do use a little bit of both for different reasons.
Yeah.
Um, the real rule of thumb is, if you have a lot of valuable assets that you don't want to be in a hot wallet, and vulnerable in a sense, you want to put it in your hardware wallet, and that's really what it's for. So you have to think of it like a vault that has more security behind it, but your assets really live on the blockchain either way,
Right.
and it's really just the access to them, and the convenience factor. But you shouldn't be leaving like $1 million worth of assets in your hot wallet.
Right.
That should really be in cold storage or what we call a hardware wallet. So yeah, great. That's a great question.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And sometimes I find myself sometimes realizing, wow, I've actually left my MetaMask open for this long and I haven't locked it down, or some other thing, and it's just kind of like shocking sometimes that we do these things, but we're also human. We've got a lot going on in our lives, but this is also just the more important factor here, right? Is that the more we get involved in Web3, the more we get involved in NFTs and collecting art, um, you know, it's this distraction, right? You know, we can only multitask so well, and it's these times where we definitely want to make sure that our process and our fundamental approach here to security is well thought out and laid out in advance, right? So, so I think that's a great tip, and definitely, you know, hardware wallets do seem to come with their issues, but you know, we are still early, and you know, I think these teams are starting to really fix things quickly compared to maybe a year ago. You know, it's already traveled that much in terms of adoption, so that's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that come in. But you know, so I think obviously we have the fundamental rule that I think, as moderators, as community leaders, in every space, we're always telling people, do not give out your passphrase, do not give out your seed phrase or your mnemonic, whatever it might be. I mean, this is a really fundamental rule that not your keys, not your coins, right? Not your keys, not your tokens, whatever those tokens are, whether it's a magnificent piece of art or you know, some Ripple that you bought the other day. But you know, when it comes to, you know, this kind of security, what do you look for when you're interacting with new sites or new projects to ensure that there isn't some sort of nefarious bad actor here trying to get this information?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So what I look for in a project, I'm very cautious, and I try not to jump into anything, you know, and I may miss some things, right? You know, people talk about airdrops, and they talk about free mints, and they talk about all this stuff, and all this money that they're making. And, you know, you see a lot of boasting and fun stuff like that. But, you know, I'm very cautious by nature, and it you know, I got about 25 years in the IT realm, and by no means being an IT person, it means that you're good at IT,
Right.
or you have a security type mind. I will say that, because a lot of my friends are the first to get scammed, which is sad. But to be quite honest, it's I'm very cautious by nature, and when I see something free or I see something offered for free, I'm scared, and I'm cautious, and
Red flag.
red flag, because, you know, in life, and this is not really a, a blockchain thing or a crypto thing. This is a everyday thing, right? In every walk of life, if somebody's offering you something for free, typically it comes with a catch. And you know, not to say that there are genuine people actually offering stuff for free. Hey, I give away art for free, and I love that, you know, and I'm genuine about it. There's no ulterior motive, and people do that. But I find that that's probably, you know, rare when it comes to something that's looking to be a marketing pitch, or, you know, something like that. So and there's a lot of that in this space, because it's up and coming, and there's a lot of different folks getting in because they see that there are profits to be had. And scammers see that too, right? So when I go into a project, when I typically want to invest in something, I do a lot of research, and I miss out on stuff. I do, and I'm cautious. And before I jump into any site, so I even remember back, you know, before projects actually had their own discords or their own websites, right? I mean,
Right.
you know, having a website that you could log into, that was a huge red flag for me. I was like, wait a minute, you want me to put my wallet on this website? What? And now it's like every project has a website. Even the scam projects have websites. It's nuts.
Gotta have one.
You got to have one, right? And so, you know, I'm very, very cautious, and I'm always trying to find the links that are actual links, And I'm not the first. I'm never the first. And yeah, I've missed out on profits and gains and whatever, but my track record has been good, and I'm knocking on something here. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a
What over
pretty,
here?
yeah, you just, and you're never going to be 100% safe.
Yeah.
You're never going to catch it all, and that's sad. But I think that you have to have, and this is really the answer, and I'm very long-winded today. I don't know why, and I apologize up front. But I think that when you're thinking about security and you're thinking about getting into a project, I think you have to have a level of caution, and you have to set up, and going back to the cold storage, hot, wallet, etc., hardware wallet, you have to differentiate your wallets, especially if the project's fine, right? The people behind it, the people creating it. Think, okay, they give me a link, I'm happy with it, I know these people, I have a level of trust. You still have to have a wallet that you're using that doesn't have all of your assets in it. And you have to be comfortable with losing whatever's in those, 100%. And you shouldn't trust everything. You should be very cautious. You shouldn't be the first to anything, and you should only use a wallet that you're comfortable with losing, whatever you have when you do mint these type of things. So those are really the key takeaways that I try to practice. And sometimes I get lax, and I got to tell you, when you get lax, that's when it hits. And I always am going through and like removing the connected sites from my wallet, because I don't want to stay connected to these things, and on multiple computers too, because you can get convenient there too.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's the long and the short of it is basically stay cautious and make sure you're using a wallet, and make sure your setup is really in a state where you can do these type of things. You can have your fun, but also you can be a little risky too. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is important. I know you thought that was long-winded, but I think it's important to hear these things, because I think quite often the veterans in the space who can talk about these aspects have probably fallen for a scam or two, right? And
Yes.
probably lost a few things. I definitely have. It. I try to think of it as a very expensive and unfortunate educational lesson, but I want those to be a one-time lesson. I don't want to have it repeated, right? And then I think it's also, this is one reason why I enjoy being in this space too, is I want to make sure other people also realize that there are these vulnerabilities. Things happen. Don't freak out. But this is where, if we plan ahead and follow certain steps, if something bad does happen, hopefully it's not catastrophic. Hopefully we can recover and keep on going, because the space will keep on going, and probably if you're already here, your interest is going to keep you here. So that being said, when you find yourself in a Discord or Telegram, whatever it might be, what are kind of some of the red flags, again, that you might see to make you really step back and think, is this something I want to engage my wallet with?
Yeah, that another great question, Ryan. So when you jump into a Discord, I'm pretty selecty. I don't know if selecty is a word. But
Web
I'm
three term now.
yeah, it's like whack me or whatever. So selecty. Um, but yeah, I'm very cautious when I jump into a new project Discord. I mean, I'm curious by nature. So when I see a new project, I want to go learn about it. I want to and that's really you found a lot of YouTube videos from people who were jumping in from last year, who gave tips, right? They're like,
Right.
go into the Discord, check the white paper, all these really good tips, and they're not bad tips, honestly. What I find cautious. So when I see a project who I just learned about, they have a 10K following, okay, on Twitter, and they just made their account, okay, and that, to me, that's like, wait a second, that's an interesting number, 10K, right
Mhm.
off. They made their account a week ago. They have 10K followers. Interesting, right?
Right.
And I say, there's something wrong with that, because when I look at my Twitter account, I'm going, I don't have 10K followers.
Yeah.
And I've been on Twitter for a while now, and I talk to people all the time, and
Right.
getting followers is hard.
Yep.
And so that's red flag number one. Okay. Red flag number two is when somebody DMs me randomly. So I have my DMs turned off, and that's just a tip for everybody. Turn off your DMs. I have my DMs on for the projects that I support. So,
Right.
and what am I looking for as a moderator? I'm actually looking for the people that are trying to scam me, so I could ban them as fast as I can
Yep.
from the server, and so they don't scam someone else. So that's why I have my DMs on there, but my DMs are turned off for every single other server that I join, because there's a lot of bad actors, and it may be a legit server, it may be a legit project, but there's a bunch of people that are trying to fake you out and say they're part of the project, or they're a bot, and they're trying to get you to go in and verify your wallet, or hey, we're just minting today, you should definitely go here and mint. Here's the link, or you've been selected for a random
Oh
spicy
yeah.
mint,
Oh yeah.
and you're like, oh cool, I'm the first one that gets in. I'm gonna go and OpenSea and sell it, and then you log into the website and they got you.
Yeah.
So what do I look for? I look for things that are too good to be true. I also look for the project credentials. So when did it start? When I jump into a Discord, I'm not clicking things just yet. I'm looking at the activity, so I'm lurking in a sense, and I'm trying to feel like, is this community legit? Are there real people talking? So it's not just bots saying GM,
Yep.
which is kind of sad in another sense. Is the sentences being typed random? Like when you have to, you look like 4 lines up and you see like a general conversation, like, and they're on point, right? You're asking a question, someone's answering the question. That's cool. But when somebody randomly types a sentence that makes no sense,
Right.
going, is that person real? And then so that's also a red flag. So you know, and just being really choosy or selecty, new word created, of what I join. I'm not just jumping into every Discord. If somebody DMs me, forget it. Like, I'm not going to go into that Discord ever. So you might as well just not waste your time, bots or scammers. Please forget my name. And I'm looking for legit projects that actually are doing something, that are doing something interesting in the space, and not something that's just copy pasted from everyone else, and not something that is fake numbers on Twitter, all that jazz. So there really is this this checklist that I've developed. I don't have an actual one; it's just in my mind that
Sure.
it has to follow all of these things before I jump in, and then it has to pass a sniff test if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are some really, really good points to consider. And some of us may actually benefit from keeping a checklist. And we've put some documents together in the past for TRLab, and that's another thing that we're working on as we're now revamping the server a little bit in preparation for our next big project, which is coming up very soon. And we want to make sure that people have this opportunity to really contemplate, the security of their own wallets. Even for the sake of interacting with TRLab, we are who we are. We try to be transparent as possible, but heck, don't just jump in, right, without doing your own research and making sure it's legit. And I think what you said about Twitter was really important, right? It's so easy to buy followers in these days, and I think that's one amazing thing about TRLab's Twitter and some other really great Twitters out there. They're organic, and not only is that better for the project itself, I think, in terms of getting the word out to people who are legit and interested, but the value of the community that's attached there is I think ultimately what translates into the value of the project, probably, and what you want to see when you choose to get in. And you can also see on Twitter's with 30,000 followers, but you see their tweets only have 5 or 6 interactions. Something should be looked at further there. And yes, if you get a message from somebody or an email or whatever it is from an official admin or representative of an organization, and it doesn't make sense, or it's just using bad language, grammar, whatever it be, really question, is this, first of all, did this person take the time and, respect me as a consumer, collector, whatever, to communicate correctly? Or is it actually, something's wrong here and this is a big red flag? So that's a really good point. But maybe to go further on that, I think we've seen some more sophisticated scams recently. Ultimately, people that are starting to do social engineering and really target administrators and moderators. Do you have any tips or guides when it comes to that? This a little bit more sophisticated operations?
Yes. So many. So first and foremost, you can't trust a lot of things, and that's what stinks, right? That really stinks. And we use this phrase Web3 a lot, and it's a word that means different things to different people. But the thing is, the real world is the real world, right? And we want to believe that this space is different and magical, but and it is in a sense, but it's also the world, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of people that have developed these scams for years. So when I think about mods and I think about who you hire, it's very important. So when people ask me, and I'm consulting on a project or working for somebody, they say, well, can you recommend mods? And I have a hard time with that because, or should we hire more mods? And I have a hard time because, we're all vulnerable in a sense. Some people fight against it. Some people are good, but you never really know who's behind the computer because we're all really remote these days.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that have been, very strong in the IT field who are still falling for these things.
Right.
And so to fight against, it's just a rule of thumb, and it's not always cut and dry. It's not always, you cannot always avoid it, but don't click on things. Don't sign in, using barcodes or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, the QR code thing is legit concern right now.
Yeah, it's a legit concern, and we're so, and this is the fear, because there's a generation that has grown up with plug and play. Okay. And I really mean that it's been, the interfaces are developed and they're so slick. If you think back 20 years ago, how hard it was to network computers or,
right.
to do any of that. It was so hard. And now it's like so easy to get involved with anything. And we're so attuned to making, those, you set up a phone in a few minutes. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing.
it's amazing, right? But it's also very risky too.
Very.
And we've developed this like, oh, we're just going to click on things, and we're so sick of reading things. Like, who
Yeah,
reads a terms and conditions to the fullest? I mean, there's like one or two people on earth, right? And
but everyone watching, you should be reading your terms. Yeah,
you
yeah,
should,
you really should.
but it's almost like spam, right? We're so like uh immune to it. We're clicking, we can't stop clicking, and we can't stop of ourselves from not reading, because we're just so used to clicking accept. Oh my god, not
Yeah,
another button.
yeah,
And I think a generation has grown up with not reading anything. And not everyone. I'm not, I don't want to, point the finger, but I do feel like, it was harder in the past, and you had to do certain things. You had to read things, to understand how things work. But now it's so plug and play. You're so used to it, and even today, our generation who had to, do the extra, put the extra work in. We're so used to it too. So I
yeah,
think, going back to the original question, how do you fight against it? It's basically, you try not to click anything. You try to read stuff when something does present. You set yourself up for success. And if you're taking on a new moderator, you don't give your moderators all the permissions in the world, right?
yeah.
You want to make sure that just, separate accounts are really can access this whole thing. But when you put bots in your server, if we're talking Discord specific, you don't give bots admin positions. I mean,
Right.
like, the permissions are so important. And so this mindset, as long as you're thinking about security and this mindset, like, don't, less is more, right? And don't give bots this setup, and because those could be hacked. And don't always trust links in the servers,
Yep.
even if it looks like that person's legit. Like, if someone gets their account taken over, a moderator, it's funny, it's sad, it's these scammers are sometimes they're really smart, and sometimes they're really stupid. And I use the word stupid because they could be craftier, and they'll do something very, very obvious, to get you. Okay. And, the craftier ones will do something very sneaky. So they may change a link just slightly, and that's all they do, you know. And then, that's the main link everyone goes, like trlabs.com or whatever it is, trlab.com. And it's trlab.art, or com spelt with well, let's just say .con.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and then you go there and you think it's set up just as it would be, right? And then you log in your wallet, and then you're compromised. And that's the sneaky stuff you got to pay attention to. Luckily, some of them are really dumb, and then they get caught quickly, and then you shut them down, and that's great. But the sneaky ones, boy,
Oh yeah.
that's the ones that really scare me. They
I,
really do.
I feel like if I'm ever contacted by anyone on Twitter, if I'm looking to go to a Discord and somebody has sent me a link, not only will I immediately look that person up and do my own search, but then I've only learned through the hard way of getting scammed or doing a giveaway and giving away the giveaway to the wrong person. Because usually the first person to answer your giveaway on Twitter that, oh, I won, they're probably questionable. And you should be checking character by character. Is this a U or is it a V? Is it an M or is it an N? Is that an L or is that a capital I? Some of these are really tough to tell, but that level of craftiness goes into it because, like we said earlier, where there's value, there's or perceived value. People are very quick to take advantage of it, and this is unfortunately also the way some people have chosen just to live their lives.
Oof.
and that's unfortunate, but it is just a reality that if we acknowledge and we prepare ourselves and stay aware, stay vigilant, this is something that we can all fight against in our own way. And I do think also, making it transparent. This is one reason why I wanted to do this segment, was just for the communities, so that don't get lulled into a false sense of security on any project, no matter how high profile it is, right? You always want to make sure that you're covered, make sure that you're doing the best of your ability, and that you're involved with projects where you believe they have your interest in mind too, right? That they're doing all they can to ensure that your security is top notch. So it's super important, and I was really happy that you were willing to join us today to talk about it. And I'm curious, if there's anything else that you think is really crucial, that is kind of like another one of those red flags, perhaps, whether it's FOMO or hype or whatever, any other parting words.
Yeah, and geez, we'll do multiple series of this.
Yeah.
We could talk about this for hours. So one of the things I would caution against: look, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, and that's something that I've said for years. If something looks like it's free, so you may see like these Twitter posts tagging you saying, "Hey, click this link and grab these, this popular project, like these ape coins or Moonbird or whatever, free Moonbird." It's a scam, so don't do that. Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry. The other thing is, on OpenSea, if you get a free something, so a free airdrop, right, and it has a bid on it, oh wow, you're going to get a free ETH, right? No, you're not. So whenever you get a free airdrop of anything, excuse me, hang on one second.
No problem.
I had to cough that out. That was interesting.
I want to see your virtual avatar take a sip of.
I know. It doesn't nod, which is really weird because I'm nodding a lot, so I can only do this, which is sad. Or shake my head. That's really weird. So if you're on OpenSea, you get airdrop something. Please do not interact with that thing. One person this morning had described a new pop-up that actually jumps whenever she tries to mint something. Now it goes to a fake OpenSea, and that sucks. Yeah, that sucks, man. And what she did is she tried to she's like me. Okay, I hate getting these spam things. I want to get rid of them, so I want to burn them. And that was my first response when I started getting a lot of these spam projects. And then I didn't do it. Of course, I just hit them, and which is the better option. And my first initial response is burn it, get rid of it, transfer it, and don't do that, because some of these scam tokens actually have things built in. So where you do trade it, you do accept that offer, there's something that will happen to you. So do not do anything with those. Just hide them and then turn away. Same with tokens. So airdrop tokens that just come. Too good to be true. So that's really the rule of thumb: is if it's too good to be true, do not do it. Stay away from it. So that's one tip. Another tip is just, hey, close your DMs, get your DMs, whatever you prefer. Social engineering scams, we talked about that. One of the things you may, get these as an artist, right? Hey, do a commission for me. And you, like you said, you see a couple words misspelled, and then you really start digging in, and you say, hey, well, let's get on the phone. Let's really talk. I can't really do this over DMs, right?
Right.
And then they won't call you, right?
Yep.
But what, it's funny, some will. So yeah, never trust trust that stuff. But they'll steal your art and then they'll sell it, and you've done a bunch of work, and that's wrong. That's so wrong.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So be careful with how you communicate. Even if someone is reaching out to you in DMs and they don't sound like themselves, or they're really pitching something to you, you got to be careful. So just watch how you communicate. Don't download anything, even if a friend sends you a file, a zip file saying, "Hey, check out my art." Be very cautious about opening that. Ask them to show you it a different way. Never download anything. Never do that. Try not to share your email address, because another social engineering scam is, you join this giveaway, give us your email, and then you give them your email, and then the next thing you know, you're getting a email from OpenSea. Looks legit, right? You say, "Oh, OpenSea needs me to go, check my permissions." Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you go and do that, and then all of a sudden your Bored Ape is being sold,
Right.
transferred to someone else during a keynote event that OpenSea is giving at some conference. So that was a legit story that happened.
Sure.
And so that's all social engineering phishing scams, that you have to watch out for. And when you do get an email from a platform asking you to do something, don't click the link from the email. Go and do some research to see if that's legit. So do some research before you do that stuff. So yeah, all that stuff is really, some safeguards that you could take, and really, having your mind open to security. I know a lot of people want to just have fun and make money and or create art or whatever, but you have to start thinking about this stuff, because we are in a plug and play culture, and you have to start thinking about this because you are your own bank and you're traveling around with these assets.
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it. You're your own bank.
You're your own bank, and you lose your password, you're done. You lose your seed phrase, you're done. There's no going back. So yeah,
and I think this is all really, really, really good stuff. And I also want to say, like, we're not trying to scare everyone here either. Maybe a little healthy dose of fear is good for all of us, but and there's also projects too. Like, just because we're talking about this right now doesn't mean that every project out there is following the same method. And I've gotten an email from very legitimate projects that asked me to click on something, mint something, do something from that email, and it ended up being totally safe. But I can tell you, the first thing I did was not click.
Yes.
And hover over that link just to see, like, is it a pointer or is it a legit link? Then going and Googling it, going to their website, going to the Discord or Telegram, and seeing, is there other talk about this project? Is there other announcements, notices, pinned messages, any of that stuff to help me really believe it's legitimate? And we will probably continue to see that, because there's so many new entities entering the space, which is great, and we have so many new artists coming into the space, and that's really wonderful. But not everybody has the same knowledge. Not everyone has been here as long as you or I to witness these things, to experience them and lose things. And if you're so lucky as to never lose anything, that's amazing. But at the same time, like, I try to tell people when they're entering the space, not only do your own research, do your own due diligence, not your keys, not your coins, but also, like, be prepared, that you might make a mistake at some point, whether it's getting scammed or even just, the number of times I've seen people send NFTs or tokens to the contract address itself.
Yes.
It's really, it's really, like, it's crazy. Like, my PFP in Discord is a a moonshot bot from Gitcoin, and actually, and these are some of the most talented developers in Ethereum. And when they first launched, what happened to, like, I think 2 of the moonshot bots, and there's only like 304 in existence. 2 of them got sent directly to the contract,
Ugh.
and these are by, again, just like you said, experienced IT developer folks. We all make mistakes, and we want to learn from those mistakes and help other people learn in advance, so that hopefully their chance of making a mistake is lower. So yeah, this has been a really good talk, and I think you're absolutely right, DC. Let's talk about these things more, in all of our communities, of course. But I think at TRLab, I'm already thinking like, hey, let's talk about vaults. Let's talk about these cold storage things, because we are collecting really precious things. For they're precious to us, but other people are going to see them as precious in terms of value, in terms of what they could steal and take away from us. So it also makes me think about estate planning. It makes me think like, who knows what happens in life, and how do we make sure that all the security that we've lined up actually can be then navigated if something happens, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a super interesting topic, and something people should be thinking about, because again, not your keys, not your coins. It's a tragic thing to think about, but if something happens and nobody else can access your wallet or your vault, what happens to it, right? So so this is amazing, DC, and again, really thank you for your time. And any last words?
No, only thing is, I would say to folks, yeah, we'll do this again. So very excited about that. And I mean, like I said, we could talk hours about this type of stuff, and estate planning and digital ID, because how do you prove you're you? I think that is definitely a problem that we need to solve.
Yep.
And yeah, I think we'll spend more time about it. The only thing that I would say is, look, put yourself in a position where if you were to get compromised with a hot wallet, you're not going to lose a lot. So that is number one for anybody that's just entering the space. If you want to jump into a project, you want to buy something, use a different wallet that doesn't really attach to your main one, whether it be cold storage or hardware wallet or whatever, because set yourself up for success, and then when you do fail or you're compromised, it won't be that bad of a hit. So yeah,
I would say if it's a new project, unless it's something that it's a legit, again, you've seen those announcements, you've been following it, the links are all correct. If it's a mint, if it's an airdrop, if it's a contest, really consider what wallet you're putting in there, what information you're giving out, and no deal is too great to walk away from, right? No such thing as a free lunch,
right?
If something's not right, it's probably worth more to just not engage and understand that you have your plan and you're sticking to your plan, right? You understand your level of comfort and security, and that is what's going to carry you into the long term. And maybe you miss out on something, but is it worth it to then miss everything that you already have because of one misstep? So
yep. Wise words.
yeah. So with that being said, I would say have a good rest of your day. I know it's daytime here, so I'm not going to say good morning, good night, but to everyone else watching, good morning, good night, wherever you are. It's great to have you here. And by all means, if you have questions about security, feel free to drop into the TRLab Discord, pop in your questions, and we're more than happy to help you navigate anything that you might be wondering about. Okay, so great. Thank you again, DC, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye,
All right.
everyone.